he said that you should sit front row with me too.
Underweight tight end. What position does he play? Tight end?
Yeah, tight end.
He's underweight for tight end. He gets thrown all over the place. You're 4'8" and $120.
Yeah, he said you're
Oh man. So the question was like, what did I start off with for doing the research? So this is the research thing for that. So you can see like if I scroll up a little bit. So yesterday I gave it 10 gigabytes of text messages and attachments, and it starts going through those. But the way I started off the very beginning, so the argument was that my uncle Richard Littman, who owned Littman Law Offices, patent attorney firm, they he sold the business to them in 2016 when he retired, but they've been using his name to get business from his past big clients, but without giving him, they have an agreement to give him a cut of business for a period of time. But on top of that, they didn't have permission to use his name to get that business. They're a new company now. They just, he has their Rolodex, and he would do an introduction for them. But in any case, so the very first thing I did is I said, I want to collect every single patent since the sale of the business that had either my uncle's name on it or Goldberg's name on it, the owner of the place.
Yeah.
Then let's weed that down as to which ones have both of their names.
Sure.
Then it's, okay, which one has Richie's name on the front page? And then magically the name changes once you get further into the application.
Okay,
Where the front page is when, for instance, the biggest writer of patents every year is King Faisal University in Saudi Arabia. Actually, I think it's United Emirates is where that one is. But regardless, they do something like 600 patents a year. And Littman Law handled all their patents.
Wow.
So this Goldberg guy is going in, and he got every single patent to do the, they charge to do the patent filing and all that stuff, using my uncle's name to have them rubber stamp a yes. So I just kept whittling it down until I had that. So we had 904 patents we found. Well, then as we kept diving further in, and we kept finding, like, okay, he was doing it here. Well, then we're trying to figure out, well, how did he do it? So you start looking at the mechanisms by which he was pulling this off. Because it's not necessarily illegal what he was doing initially, but then you start finding all the connections where you can tell, okay, he is doing this maliciously. This isn't like a clerical error.
Yeah.
Right. And then all of a sudden he involved other people.
Right.
So he had other people who were putting patents through with my uncle's name on the front, but didn't have Goldberg's name in there, but had one of Goldberg's employees.
Sure.
Stuff like that. So then all of a sudden you just keep diving further and further down the rabbit hole. Same thing you do as a human being.
Right.
But the difference is that, okay, so you walk into, the patent office and, ask them where their archives are. Yeah. So you go back there and you got, 20 people who are all flipping through, millions of patents that have been filed over the years looking for, a needle in a haystack.
Yeah.
Where with computing plus the real value AI brings to the table with doing deep searches like this is the fact that it can bring context to documents.
Sure.
So I had 10 gigabytes of attachments, for instance, yesterday. Many of these attachments were like, 50-page PDFs, and you forgot your pants, by the way. That would have been hilarious. So a lot of the attachments were like 50-page PDFs and stuff. And these things were like added so much more to the case. But yeah. Imagine if I had 10 gig, if that team of humans had 10 gigabytes of attachments and had all these long PDFs they had to go through and look at stuff. I mean, an AI can process that PDF, get the entire context of the conversation, giving it, this is the kind of stuff we're looking for. And in 10 seconds, we have our answer for that PDF. And I have multiple threads doing that. So multiple bots all going off doing that same stuff. Yeah. So that's the power of using tools like this to do it. So the AI power really is ultimately comes down to, I think the strength of AI is in, well, if you could pick one feature of AI that you would keep, if you lost everything else, it would be document summarization and being able to ask questions of documents.
Sure.
Um, that's the superpower. That's what we didn't have before.
Right.
You know, we've moved from keyword searches to full context based searches and being able to, you know, look like Google's what's it called? Something LM, Notebook LM. You know, you can just load documents up and just have a chat with your library.
Yeah.
I mean, that's cool stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so once you start thinking about what are the things that AI is good at, and then what are the things that there's another thing that's the right tool for the job.
Yeah.
So the opportunity for technologists today is to say, well, let's not try to use AI to solve every problem, because some problems AI doesn't do that great of a job with.
Right.
So don't solve those problems with AI.
Yeah.
Solve them with something else. A lot of times it's classical computing and things like that that are just doing the handoffs or format the data in a certain way that makes it easier. Uh, your pants, dude. You forgot. You forgot to put pants on.
Look to see if any of those people who are engaged in that conspiracy are across state lines.
Um, well,
Then doesn't.
they would all be employees of the Goldberg and Associates place, which actually I think now it's called Nathan Law. But uh, all these are going to be tried under New York statutes. So
Even if some worker is in Connecticut.
yeah, because it was still done for the law firm that is being run out of Brooklyn.
Gotcha. So that would change.
I guess not.
Yeah, that might be an interesting. You know, the difference between a federal and a state case would be.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, and that well, that's another advantage I think of using AI for a problem like this, is that you know. So I'm not a lawyer. I have some obvious genetic memory just from being
Sure.
Jewish
Right.
that I assume I have baseline lawyer knowledge.
Yeah.
just just like Stargate and the Gould, the Stargate and the Gould. You know, they all have a genetic memory of everything. Um, oh, and the stereotype. So my if you go to LippmanLaw.com, that's my Uncle Richie. His neighbor is Clarence, well, his neighbor was Clarence Thomas, a Supreme Court justice when he lived in Fairfax, Virginia. That's where his law firm originally was. Now he's in New York, but he's retired now. But he's like last night he had to get off the Zoom with me because they were setting up for Passover Seder dinner. You know, like these are very Jewish, very Jewish. The whole family is like Orthodox. Well, I mean, like they practice their professions in the garb. That level of Jewish. They have their daughters have arranged marriages in Israel. Yeah, we're talking Orthodox. My relatives are very Orthodox. He doesn't. But I think some of them might. I think a lot of them do like the certain like the linens. You can't mix certain linens together, so they all have things like that. But it's all like it's all hacks, because they have it where they technically meet the criteria, but it's like under their other clothes, stuff like that. Yeah, yeah, and like the whole thing, like they can't do work on Saturdays, so they're not allowed to turn a light switch on. So rather than sit in the dark, what do? Or they hire a Gentile
Right.
to come through on Saturdays to flip all the lights on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do the work except paying that guy, but I didn't pay him till Monday. So I didn't do that work. I didn't do that work. Um, yeah. So anyways, um, but but the cool thing with like what you can do with these things with technology now is so what you're looking at here is an application that I built with AI. So I actually built it with Claude CLI command line interface because I was running, I had like 15 terminals going just for my agents. And then I probably had another 6 or 7 terminals going for all the servers that some of them are running. Like several of these guys, for instance, like here's my this is my one for grading, and here's one for my Bible research. So if I like click on this Bible research one, oh, it's already expanded. And then I click on home, it brings up that server that's running locally on my computer. So oh, disappear. So see how this is running on localhost port 4003. So my software, what it does is it spins up the server, it finds an open port and spins that server up on that port. So now that's the guy serving this guy. So this is actually a really cool site, like Case for Messiah. You have these are the claims that the Jews say Jesus had to have. All the things. So there's 37 undisputed. So you can kind of go down here and learn about all the things that the Messiah was thought to be bringing to the table. The heat map one is pretty cool. Yeah, theme heat map. So if you like, let's say you're interested in like messianic prophecy. So you click on that, and what it does is that the lighter the color, the more concentration there is. So you see obviously Isaiah, lots of foreshadowing to New Testament stuff. So this shows you in the Bible where messianic messages are. Um, uh, Obedience to God. Obviously, you're going a lot earlier on in the Old Testament, stuff like that. But just really interesting ways of exploring um, uh, the Bible. Um, yeah, yeah. So in any case, oh, was the character map one?
The lights in here, Tim.
I don't know. Oh, so yeah, this is kind of a cool thing. So this is a character map. Or oh yeah, I see it's kind of washed out there. Just
The lights off.
yeah, that way Carson can sleep.
All right. Well, that kind of.
No, I think it's that's the second to the top, or just get them all off. Oh, I don't care. Just is this better?
It's a rainy day, bro. Have the lights off.
So, like as an example, you see this. I can click on any of these guys, like Abraham, and it shows me all the connections: marriage to Sarah, Hagar, family Isaac, Ishmael, Noah. Backstory: Noah would be before him. Forward-thinking Jesus, but like you can click on Isaac, it shows you the connections from Isaac. So just all sorts of different ways of visualizing the stuff in the Bible. But this is a server that's running locally on the computer here that I then deploy to my cloud. But I wrote my own cloud. So for example, if I go into the Bible research thing here and I right click, I can do deploy to Gonzo Cloud. Gonzo Cloud, that's Mr. Gonzalez. He has his own cloud service. So Gonzo Cloud is like my version of Amazon Web Services that I built for my stuff. I mean, it's not a competitor with Amazon Web Services. It's not covering 4 million machines with elastic memory and stuff, but it runs my crap. So now I can just say, okay, well, here's the app name, here's the command to start it. I can deploy it up to the cloud. It'll run up to the cloud. It'll start running. It'll tell me what port it's running on. Back here, this guy's not ready to go into the cloud. But then on top of that, what I built is in that cloud server, I built a relay. So inside of the cloud server is this guy, Gonzo Cloud Service. It's a Node.js application. Most of these other ones here, this one's Swift. So that's the mobile app I have on here. So this mobile app, we'll do it inside of so the mobile app, if I go to Gonzo Cloud Service and I say, what was our recent update? And I send that, you should see it pop up in there. So it's so I can control this laptop, this program from anywhere on the planet. Because this is going through a public relay. So and I can see what's on the screen here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I can browse in, I can see everything it's putting out up here. So those are all things that as computer scientists, if you have the right skill sets, you can build these things. Now, I didn't write very much of the code that's in here. Every now and then I have to go in and do something. It has to do this little weird connection or something. But you had to have the ideas of all the things that are capable. Build a relay server that has, when do you use WebSockets? Because what's happening is for like the image of the screen, the default is every 2 seconds, this guy sends a updated image of the screen you're currently on here on the mobile app. But just putting those things together is kind of a cool thing. How many of you follow? Did the Final Four happen last night? Did the basketball play last night? Did University of Illinois win or lose?
Saturday.
Okay, so it's not yet. Okay, gotcha. So University of Illinois has on it. So we're has this guy named Kylan Boswell. So he's one of their starters. He's going to the NBA this next year. They're thinking he's going to be a late first round, maybe early second round pick. So we're working with his dad, who's a talent agent, and we're doing deep dives into other people's uh, into like their who's using their name and their image illegally, and then automatically drafting cease and desist letters and things like that to add value to that industry. So all this is done with technologists having this idea, knowing the weapons we have in our hands and being able to apply them. So this still requires the computer programming skill set. This still requires the computer science problem solving skill set because you have to know what's possible.
Sure.
But once you know what's possible, now I have a team of software engineers, so I can sit there and watch movies, and I'm like conducting an orchestra, doing this thing. Oh, another cool thing on this, if any of you have messed with Claude Code CLI, you look down here. So this is my current quota available. So the top line is how much I have available for the most recent 5 hours. The bottom one is for the week. So this is on the $200 a month Claude Code CLI. 66% for the week. That's pretty solid. Hopefully you're doing all the stuff for me.
Okay, I have a confession to make. I have a confession to make. So I just wanted to.
Take my $200 a month.
No. Okay, I just want to do a little stress test on Claude to see what it could do.
Okay.
So I gave it very detailed instructions, gave it a whole plan, and told it to make Minecraft. It did really bad.
Did it really?
Yeah. It was bad.
For Minecraft, you have to.
Okay, no, here's specifically what I did. I asked it to make Minecraft with several features from Ark Survival Evolved.
Okay.
And I specified which features to bring over and how to do it. I told it to do it in C++.
Okay.
And it took a lot of extra prompting to even get.
Interesting. I wonder what about that it struggled with. Well, but I mean, so if we're just thinking about how these AIs actually process the stuff.
The movement was also reversed at first. Like once I got everything rendered and I could see stuff, I pressed B and it would go forward. And when I first tried to start, it had an error. So I went like did a search of the code and I found 9 places where it was dividing by 0.
Okay. Come on. And you're using Opus 4.6 million codecs?
Yep.
Or million context window?
Yeah, max effort.
Interesting. Well, I never change the effort on mine. I just leave it at like auto for it to figure out what it wants to. So I think auto is medium effort that it figures out what it boosts. Oh. Yeah. Well, it's the way it. I mean, that just surprises me that it, because I would say, as long as you know what you're asking for, if you give it, I wonder if you were too detailed, like you asked it to do too much at once.
Yeah, that's
Because my guess is you built something, you gave it a prompt that was pretty like long and crazy with a lot of detail.
Too crazy. I just kind of told it what features need to be implemented.
Okay.
And kind of let it get the liberty of how to implement them.
Oh, interesting.
I had it like multiple bots working on at the same time.
Yeah, I spin up agents. So like for example, so my app here has the ability to um add new quick prompts. So I can tell it what I want to name the button, what the prompt should have in it, and whether it should auto send. So press enter automatically after I hit it, and whether it should be global. Do I want it available for all projects? So like for instance, with cloud service, if I want to have a one for deploy, I can say deploy, and I can say um, make sure the app is up to date and deploy it now. So I'll say go ahead and auto send, but let's say that this is just a local prompt. So I'll hit that. And now it's sitting here, it's in a different color. So its deploy is now purple. So I think the site's up to date. But if I click that, it'll go ahead and send the message. Um, and then it'll check the website, make sure it's up to date, ultimately deploy it. So I wrote the script that allows you to deploy it to my oh, nothing's happened since the last deploy. But so you can do little tricks like that. Um, Other things would be for any app, you can come up here and you can add a project website. So let's say it's not a server that's running off of it. Let's say it's just it builds a website. You can put that website up here so that you don't have to remember it anymore. You can just come and click on this and it'll open up the web page. So this whole tool is kind of like a power tool for an orchestra conductor to conduct his agents to do what they want their agents to do. So while I have one agent working on something, I can go and work on other agents. Well, this Kylan Boswell, we started with him, um, uh, but then we have a whole bunch of other people that we're working with. We also have another 20 some law cases we're working with here. So this lawsuit research thing. This is actually kind of cool. I just open it in Finder rather than go to the actual website. I'll just double click on this index thing. So this is my intelligence business. And so these are, so we have 19 active cases. This is other than my uncle's case in 4 different jurisdictions, New York, California, Illinois, Massachusetts. So you can click on any of these guys. It'll take you into did I click? Oh, did it open up in another tab?
Those characters from Weevil.
Why aren't you opening?
Oh, my bike footage website is broken.
No, it actually isn't broken. It looks like it's just not working locally. Yeah, so this is the one up in the cloud. Um, so this is the live site. So I must have made changes to the current thing and the links are but anyway, so this goes through each of these cases and does research on it, the overview, um, basically information about it that, a lawyer might be interested in to vet whether this case is worth taking or something like that, but also something that we can advertise and say, use us for your discovery data. We'll go do the deep dive, cover all the stuff for you, give you everything you need, called the bill of particulars that they can take into court to either do a settlement or hand to the judge, whatever it is. Yeah. So anyways, kind of cool things that you can do um, with AI. And I typically will use web as my presentation layer. So rather than sending PDFs or I've noticed that a lot of the AIs like to make markdown files, MD files, which might be fine for developers and sharing stuff between agents or whatever, but might not necessarily be all that great if I'm sending an MD file to my 75-year-old uncle who can barely check his email. Yeah, so those things become kind of I guess problematic. Um, yeah. So in any case, lots of cool stuff that you can do with even your current, skill sets and knowledge bases, just from the things you've learned in here to go out and do things like this, whether it's for building your own skills or it is for looking for opportunities in, to do something for businesses, whether it's to make money or just get experience in like an entrepreneurial type of world, because you have a time period right now, 6 to 10 months is what I'm estimating, before these tools become much simpler to use. Because Claude Code CLI is not nearly as friendly to use as this unless you build a tool to run a bunch of agents at once. Otherwise, you just have terminals open throughout, I had this guy type thing working, I had a whole bunch of these terminals running on this forever and ever and ever. Where, and then I also have Mr. Gonzalez is on here too. I can say, so he sends me stock research every morning. Say hi to my class. You got to hope for the best here because Mr. Gonzalez kind of has a mouth on him. So this guy is running on a technology called OpenClaw that's sitting on another computer at my house. So I actually send text messages to him through teleport. Waking up and let's get after it. Yeah, so he sends me this research for stock market stuff because I've been collecting data.
You get over it again.
Just zoom in. Just chill. That's not one of the better cars. That one probably only has like a $35,000 limit.
Yeah, only 35 grand.
You know what we could do with a $30,000?
Not my income in 10 years.
Really? You're expecting to not make more than 35 grand with a computer science degree?
I'm saying current.
No. You expect to not make more than 35 grand a year doing projects with me?
Or are you saying you make 3,500 a year current, is what you're saying?
That's on a good year. So, all right, let's cover some stuff. Let me get Unity launching here. Well, I mean, we've been learning up to this point. We're going to keep. Say this again.
I thought we were going to yap the whole class.
Oh, but there was good stuff in there. That was all computer science related stuff. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that's going to put you through school. Let's see. All right. So, we were talking about all the on stuff, right? We just get this guy open here. So last time we were looking at these various functions we can put in here on collision enter, on trigger enter, and kind of talking about the differences for these things. So there's this whole layer inside of Unity called messages. And messages are kind of like function calls, but instead, if you were doing this in an older language, these might be called different things. It could be called alarms. It could be called triggers, notifications. But what ends up happening is behind the scenes, your Unity game, when there is a collision, let's say, what it does is it screams up in the air, a collision has occurred. And it puts in that, here is the thing that was involved in the collision. So it's kind of like a spectator on the side of the road watching a car accident and saying, oh, there's a collision. And any of these other programs, any of these scripts that are available, they can listen for those messages. And then, so this on collision enter might get called for 30 different game objects who have a script running on them with on collision enter. They would then look at the collision and who collided and decide, am I a script that's interested in that? So you're kind of fishing for messages. This is actually pretty similar to how modern networks work. So do you know what technology all of our Wi-Fi today and plug-in stuff uses under the hood for transporting information? So we use something called Ethernet. So have we heard of Ethernet before? All right, so anybody know anything about Ethernet? What is Ethernet? Besides a network thing. Oh, you plug things in, it goes quicker because it's Ethernet? Or you're saying when you plug in a wire, it's faster than when you do Wi-Fi? Okay, why? Yeah, but actually, what I'm really wanting you to tell me is why you're wrong. Do you think you're right?
Yeah, my Xbox runs way quicker with Ethernet.
Right. Okay. So, but if I'm telling you you're wrong, do you still think you're right?
If you give me a reason for why I'm wrong, then I would change.
Well, I'm going to.
Okay,
But this is really, where do you put your money? Are you betting on yourself or are you betting on me? Yeah, that would be smart money. Yeah, as long as it's like computer science stuff. I mean, don't. Yeah, if we're talking about who's going to win the figure skating type event or something, yeah, I don't know, whatever. We just had Winter Olympics, right?
Like Oklahoma girls football.
Oh, I don't watch college sports is stupid.
No, Oklahoma girls where you go like one-on-one and you try to like.
Oh, I've seen that. It's like a new sport.
It's like a drill.
Oh, no, but I mean, somebody, at least I've seen it.
Oh, yes,
I've seen it in VR. It's in VR. Where you're sitting there, it's like a mini football field, and you got these two, usually pretty good sized guys that just one of them has a football and they just run at each other for impact.
Yes.
Well, they've turned that. It's just like the thing where they've also made the sport out of slapping. The thing where they slap the guy. You got these guys, they put all these cotton things in their ears so their eardrums don't explode, and they're just slapping the crap out of each other. How many of you have seen how many of you have seen the movie Dodgeball? Okay. Only 1.5 people have seen Dodgeball. Dodgeball is required watching for all computer science students. How many of you have seen The Art of Self-Defense?
Oh, yeah.
That's where that belt thing outside my door came from. Art of Self-Defense is an amazing movie. Watch it sometime. I'm trying to think what it's on. It might be on Netflix right now, or it's on Netflix, or it's on Amazon Prime. But it is an amazing movie. When you start watching it, you're going to be sitting there saying, "What is going on?" Trust me, power through it. It's never going to get less weird, but it's going to get way, way, way good. It's like this strange. It deals with karate and this guy who's got really low self-esteem, and he goes in there and now he's a yellow belt, and he just wants to wear his yellow belts all the time. And this is an A-lister, the guy who plays that is the same guy who played Lex Luthor in the newer movies, and also played the Facebook Zuckerberg in the social media movie. Yeah, so I mean, this is a A-lister guy who plays it, but it's a really good movie. But the dodgeball thing was, so only 1.5 people saw Dodgeball. Dodgeball is hilarious. You have to watch it. It is like the best thing to watch while not drinking on a dry campus. I guess everything's out the window now since I've had an image of a credit card up on the video.
Have you seen Heidelberg Friday night?
Well, no, I believe that alcohol exists on campus. I'm just saying that officially you should not be drinking alcohol on campus. Yeah, I didn't make the rules. I don't personally care, but I'm certainly going to call the party line and say you don't risk it. Just walk to Highland House or. But regardless, in the movie Dodgeball, these guys, they have to save the little guy's gym against the big corporate gym. They're trying to take him over, and they've decided the way they're going to raise money is by playing dodgeball. It's but it gets hilarious, like in a really good way. But in any case, the last part you're watching is like this world championships for dodgeball in Vegas. And they got color commentaries, and one of them is Jason Bateman. This is early in his career. He was one of the color commentary guys. But in any case, you know, they're acting like this is this like super professional sport. You know, similar to if you've seen the movie Basketball, which is made by the South Park guys. Basketball is great too.
You guys watched that,
Well, but he's a lot closer to my age than you are. But well, I mean, I'm still you're what, 30 maybe
27.
27. Okay, I mean, so closer to my age than you guys, not very close to my age, but on that, you know, one of the jokes was they had a thing called ESPN 8, the Ocho. If it's almost a sport, it's on ESPN 8, the Ocho, and just showing guys like just hitting each other with bamboo sticks and stuff. Well, I imagine that this like slap fighting thing or you know would be on ESPN 8, the Ocho. You know, same thing like if you haven't seen the movie Idiocracy, you have to watch that too. Yeah, because that's where society's going. That's a documentary, Idiocracy, and we see it every single day. But yeah, the whole slap fighting thing, but the football thing where they run at each other and then you usually get one or two of them blacking out because somebody took something to the temple. Yeah, that's great. I think I'd be decent at that. Just from a mass perspective. I mean,
I would just get low on you.
no, I get it. I get it. I mean, from a skill perspective, guys who know what they're doing can take down big guys. I get it. So I would try to keep a low center of gravity just to use my mass to take a lot of it off. But no, I understand that. But I would think that just someone my size would be accidentally better at that than they should be.
Yes, that's.
You know, just because of being, yeah, just because of being big. Yeah.
Hey, well, if you ever want a charity event, I'm gonna run an open drill against you.
You would?
Yeah.
Oh, I would beat you. You're like 4'8" or 5. How tall are you? Oh, how much you adding on to that?
5'11".
Okay, 6 foot. How much do you weigh? 110 pounds?
110 pounds.
How much do you weigh?
220.
220. I was that at birth. My poor mother.
Okay, but I can squat your feet.
What do you think my weight is?
Yeah, okay, all I know is that I can squat 500 pounds, so
Okay, I'm not 500.
I can also deadlift about 700, so.
Well, I'm not that either.
So I think I'm good.
Yeah. So I lost 75 pounds, but I'm still 350.
Wait, is your bench weight 35?
My bench is 335, so I can also bench you,
Almost bench me.
almost bench
But you know, like benching a human, the weight's not distributed as
No, no.
evenly. It's a lot harder.
But we cut you up first.
you.
But-
Theoretically.
I'll do that as a charity event.
Alright,
We could raise some money.
like, let's run like slip and slide over.
Well, I don't know about that. I have a bad back, but as long as I'm in a standing position at the beginning,
Yeah,
I would take pleasure in kind of looking down at your unconscious body. Accidentally kind of stepping through there.
I'd be like the lineman, I'd have Carson run the ball or something, so go get it.
How big are the linemen on the football team here?
They're good size, nothing like one athletes, but they're pretty big.
I mean, like compared to my size, like they're probably a little smaller than me.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, obviously they're fit and have skill in football, and
Actually,
no, I get it.
like same body type, but like not.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, I can compete with them, but that's just not really strong. Can't play that whole thing, so.
Well, right, and that's the thing that's kind of secret about me is I lift. So I mean, obviously I'm older. I don't have football skills, but I'm pretty strong. So I would think I would be accidentally decent at stuff that I have no skill in. Just from being big and having enough strength to just grab someone, spike you. Oh, that would be hilarious.
I don't know if you can pick me up.
Well, I'm pretty sure I can pick you up. As long as if I couldn't pick you up off the ground, because that would be bad for my back. But if you came up in front of me, I could put you over my head. Win which one? Yeah, I don't know.
I just don't have beard. That's the thing.
Well, it's good.
It's like CTE, so I'd be fine with like sacrificing myself.
I thought you were afraid to fly.
No.
Aren't you the guy who's terrified of turbulence?
No.
Really? I love turbulence.
Sorry.
Oh, I want it where you think the wings are gonna shake off.
Okay, that gets a little.
I love when you're landing. I love when you're landing and they're making like crazy amounts of adjustments, like feet off the ground. You like you swear you saw a wing touch.
Feels like you're gonna die.
Oh, it's so good. So good.
It's my last days.
All right. Enough random babble.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna be back. We're gonna be right back to AI babble afterwards. Yeah, that last conversation was less about technology. So we're gonna call this messages. So I was messaging, talking about something like Ethernet. So Ethernet is a networking protocol. It's a what's called a packet-based protocol. So if you want to think about how your Ethernet connections work, oh, that's right. I was about to prove you. We're about to prove you wrong. Is you are you think about your Ethernet, whether it's a plug-in or wireless. They're both running Ethernet. Okay, the difference is just the communication channel it's running on. So, and that's kind of where you're wrong. It really depends on what the source of the internet is behind the scenes. If you have the same source internet, one being served through wire, one being served through wireless, you are likely going to get the better performance on wired than wireless, just because the amount of oh, certainly with wireless distance from source, but you also have to have the wires going that long or plugins away. But the point is that being wired or being wireless doesn't tell you a whole lot about speed. Being wired or wireless tells you about a network connection, doesn't even tell you about internet, right? So you have a phone line that you can talk to the other side, but how you're using that phone line is all relative, right? It's not necessarily a data thing, like you saw in my relay thing. That's just a server sitting up there letting two guys connect and they're just kind of handing off messages from each side as it's coming through. But in any case, Ethernet, you can think of it, whether it's wireless or wired, as like a river of data. And inside that data, everybody's on a little boat called a packet. And what you do is a computer that's sitting on that network, either wirelessly or wired, you're kind of dipping your hand in and looking at the packets. Are any of these for me? You're just sifting, you're panning for gold, looking for packets that belong to you or that you're interested in. Because chances are you might be on the same network as other things that are being broadcast at the same time, that you might have multiple computers that are all interested in that same broadcast. So Ethernet can also, that data, yeah, it might be intended for one, but it could be used by others, sometimes maliciously, sometimes not. This is where the danger comes in, like coffee shops and stuff like that, where if you get on their Wi-Fi, somebody like me could be sitting there, um, uh, packet sniffing, just collecting the data. So if you're ever at a coffee shop and you see someone with an external Wi-Fi thing, the very least be suspicious of that. It could be their internal Wi-Fi broke and they had to buy an external one. But especially if it's an external one with one of those longer antennas on it, chances are they bought that because it follows a protocol that most laptops with their built-in Wi-Fi block. That's the thing you need for doing like deep packet sniffing, stuff like that. But you would just go into a coffee shop, collect data for 1 or 2 hours in the background while you're working or whatever, and go home and deal with the data later. Find out whose passwords you cracked and stuff like that. Go ahead.
Like kind of specified source that it's going to, so then also kind of snoop in that way. That was actually the problem they have with cars right now, is that with their CAN networks, because it's like just always connect to them.
Yeah, there's data all around us.
So
Yeah, and the data are just, we can think of the frequencies that these things are operating off of as like individual highways. So if something is at 2.4 gigahertz versus 5.8 gigahertz, those are frequencies. Typically, the higher the frequency, the higher performance, the oscillations faster. So you can technically move more data in the same tube because you're taking advantage of the further, if you think of it as like the thing that comes out of the tube at the bank to put your money in and stuff. They still do that. I don't go to banks. I got people for that. So it's like when Trump talks about grocery shopping. When was the last time he went grocery shopping?
Well, what's the downside of 5G that like it's more efficient at a shorter distance, but just a longer distance, it just sucks to
Mhm.
go through walls.
Right, and that we experienced that the most in the early years of Wi-Fi. You had 802.11a and 802.11b. B was the one that went further but slower. A was shorter but faster. Then you had 802.11g, which was the distance of B but the speed of A. Then we got the 802.11n and blah 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 blah. Keep releasing new ones that give you either more speed or more distance, or it's at a higher frequency that is that walls and stuff interfere with less. We're constantly chasing the performance metrics of it. And you're probably right. I mean, certainly wireless data is more susceptible to people doing packet sniffing or something like that, just because all you have to do is start catching the air. Where if you're doing it on a wired Ethernet network, well, now you need to get to a port to get on there. Or if you're on a wireless network that's also backed by a wired network, if they are on the same subnet, you can sniff the wired network by way of wireless network. If they're not on the same subnet and you know what you're doing, you could use the wireless network to climb into the wired network wirelessly and then sniff those packets. So if you have someone sitting in a coffee shop, I mean, this is an interesting experiment to do sometime. Do not do anything bad with the data, but it's an interesting thing. You can, Kali Linux comes with a lot of these tools for this. So if you install Kali Linux on your computer, and you make sure you have a Wi-Fi card that can take advantage of all the, they're like $20. It's not an expensive card. The thing that's inside your laptop probably protects you from yourself and protects you from other people doing the same crap. You need to take the governor off. If you want to, if you want to do this. Where's you want to do this. When I create a new session, I could put it in ludicrous mode. And ludicrous mode turns off all protections and hits yes to everything automatically. Because I don't want to sit there and babysit this thing. So,
Have you had any issues with that?
huh?
Have you had any issues with?
Well, nothing I know of. One time when I first started using the tool, I was running a server, and because what it did is it set one of my servers up to automatically restart. So I actually lost control of my computer because the thing I was running was popping up. It was doing web scraping, and I really couldn't do it with what's called a headless server. So headless is when you have a web browser that opens up, but you don't see it. It's meant to be automated through like a tool like Selenium or there's Python libraries that allow you to more conveniently automate websites, things like that. So what happened is it was popping up full websites all over my computer and I couldn't control it. As soon as I would like I would try to get to my terminal to kill off the process. It would have spun the process back up. Plus, I would have been kicked out of the terminal because it launched another window and that became the foreground. So I had to spend about 15 minutes just getting my computer back. I mean, I could have turned it off and whatever, but
You hear about the Alibaba thing recently? They have their
well,
own-
at least I don't think I know about it.
I haven't like read the paper. They put out a paper recently, but they have their own Alibaba, like the Chinese Amazon.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
They have their own AI, and essentially they like gave it a sandbox and said do some tasks. The AI inferred that it would be wise to have resources to be able to continue those tasks. So it broke out of its confinement and started mining Bitcoin.
so good.
Created its own banking information to
Yeah.
hold that Bitcoin wallet. And because it was just like, well, it might be smart for me to be able to deploy resources in the future.
Yeah.
To continue this task, and the researchers were like, whoa, this is far beyond.
That's why I said 6 to 10 months.
Yeah.
One of two things are going to happen. Either these tools are going to become much friendlier to use So like I have an easy mode for my thing, which um, turns everything into a much friendlier look, so it feels like you're just chatting with ChatGPT. But then when I go back into wheels down mode, wheels down actually has a funny story behind it. If I click into the wheels down mode, then it pops into this mode and gives me a lot more detail to mess with stuff. Man, do I tell the wheels down story? This was actually maybe like I think this was in January. I don't remember which of our trips it was in, but we were flying back from Florida, and so not a surprise. I fly first class, and I misjudged my window to preventatively go to the bathroom. Go ahead. Either Fort Lauderdale, or Miami. Probably Fort Lauderdale's. We were cruises. We go out of we do cruises. We either fly to Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, Miami. Those are all the major, biggest cruise ports in the world. We're flying back. So as we start losing altitude, I'm guessing from whatever the pressure difference is, it went from, oh, I'm pretty sure I can hold it to I definitely cannot hold it. So, and in my mind, I thought we had plenty of time before we were actually going to touch down. I knew we had started descending, but I missed the part where they actually put the landing gear down. So I unbuckle, I get up, the flight attendant up in the front is like, oh, what are you doing? The wheels are down. I said, I gotta go. He said, all right, I'll be careful. They don't do that back in steerage. First class, they let you do whatever you want. So I go and the plane lands while I'm in the bathroom. So I call that the wheels down mentality. And it was a hard landing too. Good thing I'm the size of the bathroom. So I was kind of wedged in there while I was washing my hands. So, stuck. Plane crashes. The only guy who survives was the dude washing his hands in the bathroom because he was wedged in. All right. So anyways, with Ethernet, you have a pool of little boats called packets. Each computer scoops in, they grab what they want, they can look at it, they can look at what's in the packets, all this stuff. So what do? Well, we start encrypting our networks. We encrypt the packets. So when you pick up the little thing of data, it's an encrypted thing of data, and unless you know how to decrypt it, the data is not very good to you, depending on the strength of the encryption, right? So we have tools for breaking encryption. So if you have something that really needs to be encrypted and you don't want it to break the encryption, well, you use stronger encryption like RSA, for instance. Unless you're just going to put an entire credit card number in a video live streamed over Zoom. So good. It was a lesson on security. So yeah, so you would probably like credit cards. You'd want encrypted with a stronger encryption. You don't want to risk someone being able to hack your credit card. So usually that would be RSA encryption, which there's not a risk of people with modern computers to be able to break RSA. But with functional quantum computers, you can, but we're not there yet. But we have the algorithm to do it, Shor's algorithm. But anyways, this message passing thing exists in a lot of different languages. In fact, the Objective-C programming language is built on top of this idea of message passing. So like when you call a function in that, let's say you have a player star P is equal to player Alec init with name. So this is the Objective-C programming language. So this is the branch. We got C++ is with the Microsoft side. Apple says, hey, we're not doing whatever they're doing. It's Republican versus Democrat, just in text. just in tech. So they said, well, you're going C++. Well, we're not. So they backed an open source project for Objective-C. And the language looks kind of like this rather than saying in C++, you would say player star P is equal to new player Mike, like that. So which of those two do you like better?
Second.
I actually prefer the first one.
Yeah, 'cause it's weird.
I prefer the first one for a good reason relative to something we've talked about in here. So in here, when we build our constructors, we've mentioned that our constructors should have meaningful names, right? If you have a player that needs, if you have a constructor for player, that player needs to take in as an input string name, right? You wouldn't say string n. You would say string name because
I think you've gone over this before.
Yeah.
Have, like, multiple constructors.
right. Well, multiple constructors lets you build a constructor. Maybe it's, you know, a player with just a name, or you have a player and the jersey number. You know, you can have multiple things like that.
So you have its own name for like each field.
Yeah. So I can say init with name, and if I build the constructor this way, and jersey 12 or something like that. So what ends up happening is the constructor reads like a sentence. It tells you, here's the name I'm giving you with this name, with this jersey number. So when you're building the an instance of it, at that point in time is when you're giving it its values, and you can use then simpler variable names because the variable names get their meaning from the constructor. And once they're inside the object, then you can just say p.getName or whatever, you know, however, if you do it with something called properties, you can just say p.name. But anyways, this is a message passing thing. Under the hood, so is this. But what are we doing here? This part right here, this allocates new memory. So this is an actual player object that lives somewhere in memory. Now we're saying we're going to pass. So this player object is this guy. So he's sitting out in memory. He's just a memory address waiting to be built. We're going to pass him a message. We're going to say, hey, we want to initialize you with name, Mike, jersey 12. And then he goes and does that initialization. But that's done through something called a message passing interface, MPI. So if you ever see MPI, it's a kind of a mechanism. We would even say it's a design pattern. Message passing interface is a design pattern which says if you need a lot of things to know about something all at the same time, or at least at the potential, a lot of times we think of that as like a broadcast. We broadcast a message, right? Let everybody know something all at the same time. And whoever's interested in listening can listen. So we see these messages all over the place. Does anybody know what that guy is right there? What's the little ampersand before this? Huh? Would it work, do you think, if I just took that off? I'll tell you the answer. The answer is yes. But it depends how I build it behind the scenes. But potentially, yes. That is a string in Objective-C, because Objective-C is built on top of C, and C has strings. Well, the original strings in C were character pointers, so they were an array of chars. Then we had something called C strings, which were more convenient to use character arrays. Then we had more normalized strings like we're used to today through the standard template library, STL. And then it's even updated a little bit more than that by today. So those same kinds of strings existed in Objective-C without the newer form. So you still had the older C strings in there. But they had another kind of string. So to differentiate the syntax between which string you're talking about, double quote, Mike, double quote is a string literal. Ampersand, no, that's not ampersand. At symbol, does it have a better name than that? Just at symbol? So at symbol, I bet you it has some crazy name that nobody knows. So at symbol, double quote, Mike, double quote, represents it's a literal for a different data type. It's called a next step string, NS string. Why is it called next step string?
It's the next step for humanity.
That's it?
Yep.
Weren't you here when I talked about this before too?
Yeah, I just remember.
You guys retain nothing.
Gain the memory of you saying it, but not the fed. It's like, I don't have memory premium, sorry.
He's not paying for ChatGPT. He's got the free version. The context window is 8. Pay to see the rest. It's behind a paywall. Well, this was during the story when I told you that Apple computers died years ago.
Yeah.
Apple today is not Apple. Apple today is Next Computers with an Apple logo on it. Apple failed as a company. In its death blow, acquired Next Computers, which was founded by Steve Jobs. You know, you have all these things of him holding up. I mean, if we just do a here's the guy, Steve Jobs, Next Computers. So this is after Apple had fired him, right? Apple got rid of him after he hired the CEO of Pepsi. Steve Jobs hired the CEO of Pepsi to run Apple so that Steve Jobs could focus on the Mac team. Then the Pepsi guy comes in, fires Steve Jobs. They start going in a different direction, creating non-proprietary hardware. So they were creating Macintosh computers. Well, they were letting other people create Mac computers. So they could create Mac clones that could run Mac software. Well, Apple's special sauce is that they're proprietary. They control the hardware and the software. It's not surprising that their stuff just works. They're solving a much simpler problem than Microsoft is. Microsoft's writing a piece of software that has to run on every single person's computer with all those different configurations and all those different GPUs and all those different types of memory and speeds of memory and all this stuff. You know, so when someone demonizes Microsoft and says, oh, well, Apple's better than Microsoft, you might like Apple better than Microsoft for various reasons. But in terms of the difficulty of the problem being solved between the two companies, Microsoft is solving the much more difficult problem. Maybe wrongly so. Maybe things would be better if they tightened their ecosystem some, but I think that cat's out of the bag. They can't control the hardware side of things. But anyways, so you still see this in Apple computers today. In their modern documentation, even with Swift, you have next step strings. So we see that as the backstory there. But in any case, so for Objective-C, we see this message passing thing more clearly because this says this first thing inside here, this creates a memory address. So 123 AF or something like that. You know, so that's a memory address. It's a pointer to a place in memory. And then what we're doing is we are sending that place in memory messages. And he is receiving the messages and deciding, is this something I can do something with? If it's not, he yells back and I say, I don't know what you to do. You know, if you yell at him and say jump, and he doesn't have a function called jump, he's going to come back and say, no, I can't do that. It's not something I know how to do. So message passing is kind of a big deal, and Unity has I think we even saw it in the documentation when we were looking at Unity, maybe rigid body or game object, whatever. I think once we get in here, we'll see it. So here's a bunch of properties that they already said these are fields. Properties are fields from object orientedness. So these would be variables. Here's our public methods. Here's messages. So we have this new category that we're not used to seeing in our object-oriented languages like Java. Not that Java doesn't support this. They just do it through kind of a different mechanism. So you don't see it as part of the documentation here, but effectively a rigid body is capable of listening to these 3 messages from itself. Now, if we go down here, see we have this inherited member stuff because a rigid body is probably a body, then probably is a game object. Let's see how good that guess was. Oh, it's a component. So it inherits from component, then game object. Yeah. Oh, than object. So a component actually isn't a game object, and component is just an object. But in any case, so we have this, so he may inherit other messages. We'd have to look since he comes from component. Let's look at component and see what messages he has. Oh, it doesn't look like component has any messages, and object shouldn't, because object is a C# object. Oh, they've overridden object. Oh, they call it object here, but it's actually a game object. But in any case. So when you look at these messages, this tells you these are the things that these are the broadcast messages that you can choose to listen for. You don't have to operate on them. So a lot of times what you would do, this is where you see it in the source code, you would say, okay, well, a rigid body, although this guy's a mono behavior who he also can handle these. So if we search for mono behavior in here, so here's mono behavior. Oh, look at all the messages this dude. So mono behaviors, and we've seen several of these. We have start or on, is it on start? Let's just see if that's built into it. No, it's just start and update. So those aren't actually messages. So notice all these messages follow a naming convention. Well, most of these messages follow a naming convention of on. Notice here, start is a message, but it doesn't follow the naming convention, which I would take off 5 points for that if I was grading this, because on start is not a problem. In fact, that's actually more descriptive. This function gets called when this thing starts. So on start, when the program starts, which means you're spinning up all of your game objects, and all of your game objects might have scripts hanging off of them, and each of those scripts needs to spin up. That's when that start function gets called, is when that script spins up. It has to happen. And say this again.
In Godot, it's ready.
Oh, it's called ready. Well, it couldn't.
You can also do on ready.
Oh,
Well,
but they give you
for-
both?
On ready, no. So ready is the function. On ready is for variables that are or for fields. That way, they're like. So they're no, it's not.
well, no, I mean, like if there's two different ways of accomplishing the same thing that sounds like Python.
No, it's not.
So they're going down a bad path. They're
Ready-
copying.
Ready is a function. Ready is a function that's called on ready is something you put before a variable to make it where it's been initiated or like.
To manage your timing. Okay, this is actually very related to what I was about to say. So, and this is something you run into in Unity. You have to make sure that you have that something exists before you start using it. So sometimes you have to manage that life cycle of your game objects as they're coming into existence, right? You have to manage that life cycle because you might say, okay, these variables need to get initialized as part of the startup sequence. And you might specifically say that because otherwise you're at the mercy of when do they become available? Is it when it started? Is it when it was first awoken? So we have an awake thing you could write. So Unity calls awake when loading an instance of a script component. That's prior to start. So you can do some things in awake, but the thing you can't do in awake is you can't access, I think I'm remembering this correctly, you can't access the properties yet. You certainly can't access the public fields, and the public fields expose that value to the Unity interface, right? The interface builder. So those guys don't exist yet because the scripts have not finished spinning up, which means the game objects have not finished starting. So your connection to an actual physical game object in the game isn't there yet. So if you start sending stuff to that field, it's not going to get to something because it's not hooked up yet. So you have to deal with some of those timing things. And sometimes you might have to experiment with it and say, okay, well, and it goes further than that. You might have to experiment and say, well, when does this become available? And then furthermore, does it consistently become available at that time? Those are pretty important pieces there. So what he's talking about is he is that they have an ability, and it's possible Unity does too. I'm not familiar with it, but they have an ability to flag a property to protect it from being used prior to it. I'm nearly positive that's got to be a very strong guess to how it works. They protect a property from being used before it's there, before it's connected. Or they bump its priority, kind of it's maybe in a priority queue, and they bump it and say, okay, this guy needs to be in that first wave. So I'm going to be using them pretty quick.
Because the fields aren't necessarily ready when the node is instantiated.
Mhm.
It's not ready yet until it's actually called.
Yeah, and all that is connected to, I'll just get it in the slide so I don't forget, is our next design pattern we're going to look at, which is called MVP. MVP is Model View Controller. All right. Questions, comments, concerns, bribes? No work, no homework over break. I think everybody, the classes after 4 p.m. today are you're off. You're off tomorrow. And technically, I think classes starting after 4 p.m. on Monday is when it starts back up. So Monday you're off of this time. So the next time I'll see you is next Tuesday. So we actually don't have any time off. Well, I'm not giving you homework over Easter. Isn't that nice?
It's so nice.
I am. I even gave you a free credit card. Somebody's gonna go buy a car.